Hi, this is James from Tabletop Gaming Guild, and today I'm going to show you how to play The Great Wall. The Great Wall is a 1 to 5 player game. However, with the base game only, it is a 1 to 4 player game published by Awakened Realms. I'm going to be showing you the 4-player version of this game and the non-cooperative version. So there is a cooperative mode to this game. I'm not going to be showing you that, but it's probably good to learn how to play the normal mode of this game before you go to the cooperative mode. There's all different cards for that. I'm going to show you what to remove to play the normal game. Those are mainly the cooperative cards, then the solo cards, and the 2-player mode cards. So 3 to 4 player is going to be what you're going to learn how to play with this game here. And if you get one of the expansions that gives you the 5th player option, it'll extend to that. So you'll be able to play with 5 players with the same rules here too. And the cooperative rules and the solo rules largely stay the same in essence that you're going to learn from this too. So you'll learn the basic idea of how to play the Great Wall, and hopefully you will enjoy this game or find it a game that you will want to play. So let's go ahead down the table here and I'll show you how to play the Great Wall. The Great Wall is a fantasy board game inspired by the history of the Great Wall of China, Song Dynasty, and Genghis Khan conquests. Most of the characters, events, and military inventions are historical, but some were slightly modified to better suit the game's theme. The Great Wall is a 1 to 5 player game that can be played in 4 different ways. It can be played as a 2-player game, it can be played as a solo game, it can be played as a cooperative game, or it can be played as a 3 to 5 player. The base game itself, just to point out, comes with enough components to play for up to 4 players. So we'll be showing the competitive 4-player mode of the game. All right, before setup, there's some cards you're going to need to get rid of for the 4-player mode of this game. The first one's going to be for the 2-player mode. You're going to need to get rid of the Reed Clan General cards. So you need to get rid of the General card, and you're going to need to get rid of this card here that also said Reed Clan Command card, and put those back in the box. You'll also need to get rid of the solo mode cards, which are going to be the teal command cards, and this General here. So you get rid of those 2 sets of cards too. Now you're also going to need to get rid of the cooperative mode cards. There's going to be a lot of generals and other cards with them, but all of them are going to have in common, or you're going to have this little symbol down here. This is a cooperative mode symbol, so you get rid of all the generals that have it. You're going to get rid of all these red cards. You'll notice they have the symbol on there. You're going to take all these horde cards with a cooperative symbol on them, also remove them. And you'll also remove these cards down here. Notice they have the symbol up in the upper right-hand corner here. And you'll need to get rid of these tactic cards also. Put these all back into the box. All right, for setup of the game, you're going to need to pick the right side of the board. In this case, you're going to be looking for the symbols here that show the player count. So this one's going to be for 4 to 5 players, and the opposite side of this board is going to be for 3 players. You're going to go ahead and place your turn counter on the player count. So in this case, 4 players. Once you have that done, you will need to find the artifact cards, and once you find the artifact cards, you'll shuffle them up, and you're going to place 3 of them out. And these are going to be the global additional honor points that you can get throughout the game, well, actually end game scoring for it. You'll put the other 2 back in the box. Next, you can shuffle up these horde cards, and we'll place those there for right now. All right, now that we have those shuffled up, we're going to place 1 horde card on the bottom row here, showing that they will be attacking the wall. In a 4-player game, we're also going to place another one. So what we're going to do is we'll flip one over, and we're going to look at the location that the card on the top of the horde deck shows. In this case, it shows it over on the left-hand side, so we'll place that horde card there. Next, we're going to go ahead and place these barracks. These you'll have to construct before the beginning of the game, and there's going to be 3 at each wall location. You're going to need to then shuffle all the tactic cards. These are the tactic cards here. So you're going to shuffle all of them up and you put them face down there. Here's going to be where the discard pile is for those tactic cards. If you ever run out of tactic cards in the game, you'll just reshuffle them and put them in a new pile there. After this is done, you're going to need to give each player all of their figurines. And there's going to be 4 different colors you can have. So you can have this red, blue, yellow, or green. Each player is going to get 10 spearmen. And this is going to be what the spearmen here look like. Each player is going to get 8 clerks. And here's an example of a clerk. And each player is going to get 2 horsemen. Here's an example of a horseman. Each player is going to get 4 archers. Here's an example of an archer. You will also get a player screen. These player screens are going to be used to hide your resources behind it. And the player screens also have a rules reference on the other side. You'll get a T marker, which are going to look like this. And you're going to get a marker here for your points on, this is your honor marker for your points on the game. It's your points or honor in this game. You will also get 6 command cards of your color. Now, these command cards are going to be identical for every player. There might be a little different art on them, but these are the 6 different commands that you can use in the game. Right, next, you're going to shuffle this general deck here. So shuffle this general deck up here, and you're going to give 2 generals to each player. After you give 2 generals to each player, you can put the generals back into the box that are remaining. The next thing you're going to want to do is you're going to shuffle up the advisor deck here. Once you shuffle up the advisor deck, you're going to hand out 2 advisors to each player. Now each player is going to take a look at their general. They're going to pick one of the generals here. And the general cards themselves here are going to have an ability. And their ability is going to be boosted by the number of assistants that you have docked underneath them. So when you take your activation, you're going to multiply by the number of these you have. So if you have 1, you're going to multiply by 1. Now, so I look at the abilities that my general could do. I pick the general that I want based also on the assistants. One of them I'm going to be able to put out and use for its ability for the rest of the game, and the other one's going to be used to boost my general. So I'll pick one of these, and I'll pick the other, and I'll show you here. All right, so how this will work is I'll take my general that I picked, and I'll put him down, and I'll take the advisor that I want to use to boost the general, put it underneath him like this, and the advisor I want to keep for the rest of the game for a special ability, I will place there. And that will set up my asymmetric power for the game. Is you're going to take a look at your general here, and you're going to get these starting resources down on the bottom. So for this general, you get 4 wood, 6 coal, 3 gold, 2 chi. You aren't going to get any of these cards for this general, but a lot of them you will. And these cards you can play at different points of the game here. And like this one here, withdrawal effect, pay whenever one of your soldiers is killed and save 1 soldier. Boosting effect, I can pay a chi and play when any of your soldiers is killed, save all of your soldiers in a single wall section. So these cards are really important. This general doesn't end up to get it. It also, there is the general's T level, which is 2. So these are the starting resources you'll get to finish up your player setup. Additionally, for setup, I'm going to need to take out this really cool tray right here. This is going to show the wound tokens, gold, chi, stone, and wood, and this is going to need to be placed out to available to all players. I will also take the pre-constructed wall pieces. There'll be 3 for each wall, and I'll put those out so people can reach them. And there will need to be 10 of these shame tokens per player. So a 4-player game, there'll be 40 shame tokens available in the game. Next, I'm going to want to place out the advisors. I'm going to place this deck, the advisor deck here, and I'll place out 4 advisors available for during game play itself. All right, the last two things we're going to do is we're going to set up the T marker space, and we're going to use our generals to do that. We're going to take a look at the number on the bottom, in this case 2, and it's going to go lowest to highest. So the player with 2, which is red, is going to be on the bottom. Other players will have higher numbers, and they'll stack on top in order, and that'll determine not only who the first player is going to be, but it also is going to determine who breaks ties throughout the entire game. So that is a very important stack that can change throughout the game. So remember that. The last thing we're going to do is we're going to take a look at our clerks. And 3 of our clerks, these 3 right here, are going to go into the pool here at the bottom of the board. So we'll only have 5 clerks at the beginning of the game to place out, and you'll be able to unlock those clerks in the future. All right, so that concludes setup of the game. Now we're going to go into the game overview. The game is played over a series of years, each divided into seasons: spring, summer, fall, and winter. Try to gain the most honor, which is points, to win the game. Spring is the maintenance phase where the time tracker advances. So this will go up 1 here in spring. Now you will skip this on your first round. Then you have summer. Summer, you could collect resources from your overseers. We're going to go over those in a second, but you can have those on this board here, and you'll collect the number of resources that are on the top. But you're going to have to devote one of your warriors to that location. You could also reclaim used command cards or gain honor instead. So throughout the game, you're going to be playing these command cards each round. When you play the command cards, they're going to get discarded up on the top of the board here, and they remain there. The longer they remain there, the more honor you're going to get. But you will eventually want to perform the same action again, and in that case, during summer, you would pull them back. Fall is where all the good stuff's going to happen. Fall is going to be where you're going to select your command card, and in T order there, people are going to place out their command cards on this track here. So first, second, third, and fourth. So they're going to determine where they want their cards to fire off, in which order. You can go out to these different locations using the command cards to gain resources down here, to go up in these areas, and you can be able to place soldiers out to fight the hordes. You can build up the Great Wall. This is where the meat of the game is during fall. During winter's season, you're going to be able to fire archers that can be on the wall. Right now, there can only be 1 space for each, but as you build the wall up, more archers can be there. They'll get to fire on the horde and see if they can destroy some of the oncoming Mongols. After that, you're going to check for end game conditions. There's 3 different ways the game can end. All 3 of the wall parts are built all to the 3rd level. The shame pool, which is those tokens, you get 40 of them for 4 players. If that pool is empty, the game will end. If the time token has made it to the end of the track. So like I said, the T tokens here are all important. They break the ties in there. Well, let's take a look at also your general card. So if you look at your general card, he's going to have a couple different things, or she's going to have a couple different things that you need to look out for. You're going to be looking for the supporting icons here. So this one here where it says you get 2 gold for each supporting advisor. If you have 2 of them, you'll get 4 gold. So that's how that actually works out there. So the supporting advisors are very, very important. This one here, I can also use gold as any resource. And in the overseer income step, I can gain 2 gold for each of my advisors that are supporting underneath that. So it's very important. So throughout the game, you're going to be able to put out these advisors. These advisors will have specific abilities here that can work for you for the whole game. Like this one here is each time you build a barricade, which are those things up there, you may pay 1 chi to recruit 1 archer on the same wall section, which is very, very powerful. So I wanted to keep that one around. But anytime you get an advisor, you have to pick. You're either going to put them as one that you're going to use permanently as their ability for the rest of the game, or you're going to use them as a supporting visor. Once you make that determination, that is it for the rest of the game. They will be those two things, and you can never change them. Shame tokens, which are these little tokens right here. These tokens here are going to be bad. You're going to gain them a couple different ways. For each horde that breaches the wall there, if you have no soldiers in that location, you will gain a shame. When a location shows a shame flag, so these are shame flags here. What those really mean is when that area activates, if you're the only person with units in there, you will gain a shame token for being greedy. Now, if there's other player units in there, you're okay. Those are the two main ways that you're going to gain shame tokens. And there's only two ways that you can deal with shame tokens. One is you gain the shame token and you place it on one of the horde cards that you've defeated. When you defeat horde cards, they will be worth the amount of points down here at the end of the game. However, they can't have any shame tokens in these two little shame token areas. But each of these cards can hold them, and you can get rid of them throughout the game. Main reasons why you would want to not do that and put it on that card is because you'll otherwise have to place them on a soldier. And if you place them on a soldier, that soldier can't be used until the shame token's removed. If you don't have either as an option, you're going to lose 5 honor. So you don't have any of the horde cards in your possession you can put them on, and you don't have any soldiers left that you can put the shame token on. You will lose 5 honor immediately. So getting rid of shame, really the easiest and the way to get rid of shame is going to be in the summer season. Each shame token is going to cost you 2 chi to remove. So that's expensive though, and chi is used for a lot of different things in the game. So you're going to want to balance that a little bit. Sometimes you may want to take a little shame just to get like the advantage of some of these areas and get all the resources, or maybe other reasons for the game to bump you ahead. Now, so in the game there's public and private information. Anything behind your screens is going to be private, and the cards in your hand are private. Everything else in the game is public to all players, including discarded command cards. Discarded command cards are important for people to see. They need to be fanned out so they know which ones you have and which ones you don't. All the resources, your chi, all that stuff goes behind the screen. Your general is going to be available for people to know, and your advisors. So that's basically your public and private information that you need to keep in mind for the entire game there. So honor versus points. Honor is what points are called in this game, so they're interchangeable. Other key important things is once a soldier's on a card, if it gets removed for any reason, a wound token is put on the card in its location, because that location is taken out on that card no matter what. So if you do play soldiers later on, we'll show you on these horde cards, that location is mitigated until the card's removed. Resources are also not limited in this game. If you run out of resources, use some suitable replacement for them, but there is no limit on resources themselves. There's 2 types of locations on the board that you're going to be using your clerks for, basically in worker placement. These green locations right here can handle any number of workers you want to put there, and they will activate pretty much immediately at the end of that player's turn. These ones here are going to have limited spaces, and they'll only activate when they're full. Also, when they're full, that space is locked, so those clerics can't move from there until the space is activated. So that's another thing to keep in mind. There's also a thing in the game that's going to be very important called advanced activation. Advanced activation does not cause shame. So if I'm the only one here and I use advanced activation action, which some of the generals have or cards will have, you will not gain shame from activating that site if you're the only one there. All right, so now let's go over the flow of the game. So we're going to have the 4 different seasons here. And keep in mind that spring, summer are going to be skipped in the first year. So you're not going to do spring or summer in the first year that you're playing the game, but we're going to go over them just so you know. All right, so the first thing we're going to do in the springtime is we're going to move this time track. So we'll move this time track up 1. Now, again, you'll be skipping this in the first play or first round, but we'll just show you this so you know. You're going to, 2 things that are important on this time track that you're going to be going throughout the game is, one is going to be the lethality, and that's going to be how many soldiers for each player that are killed if the wall's breached. And this is going to be the number of horde cards that you're going to play out for each round. So once you move this up for spring, you're going to take a look at the top here, and that's how many horde cards you're going to put out. So as you saw, there is going to be 2 horde cards that get put out. So what you're going to do is you're going to place horde cards out. So if this first row is empty, you're just going to place them out on that first row. Any excess beyond your first row here, you're going to flip, and then you're going to take a look at the next horde card for its placement. So in this case, this will be placed here. And since we're going to place 2, we're going to have to place this one, and we'll place it here. Now, we're going to talk about what happens if this ever fills and you can't place one, but for now we're going to skip that. So for the spring step here, you will move the time marker and you'll place out the horde cards. The next thing we're going to talk about is a raid. So this can happen in this point right here. And that's going to be if I place another one out, and let's say I had to play it in the middle, like right there, and I can't. I won't place this one. I will set it aside here, and I will now have a raid. Basically, what's going to end up happening is you're going to immediately remove the number of shame tokens equal to the number of players from game. So in this case, there'll be 4 shame tokens removed. And that's simply how a raid is accomplished. All right, the next thing you're going to do is refresh the advisor display. Now on the advisor display, you'll notice that they have the little icons here. When I refresh the advisor display, I'll discard these 2, and then I'll move these 2 over, and I'll put 2 new advisors out for people to pick from. And that's simply what you're going to do to refresh the advisor display. And that's it for spring. Now we're going to go into the summer portion of the game. Now in the summer portion of the game, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to do overseer income. And throughout the game, you're going to have the ability to put these overseers on these different locations on the board. So if I have an overseer here, I'm going to gain 2 wood. If I have an overseer here, I'll gain 3 stone. If one here is going to be 1 gold. If it got moved up, it's 2 gold. And these are cheese. So I'll gain 2 chi, 3 chi, 1 chi. Just depends on where my overseer is on there. We'll show you how you get those guys when I go over the worker placement portion of the game. But basically, you'll get your income at that point. Now you can discard shame tokens. So if you have any shame tokens on any of your horde cards, or you have any shame tokens on any of your warriors, you can get them discarded for 2 chi each. All command cards that were used in the previous season will now be discarded up into this location up here. And you can then reclaim any of the command cards you want that are in that upper location. You have a choice. You can take all your own command cards back into your hand from the discard pile, or you can get 2 honor for each of your own command cards in the discard pile. All right, so now that you have those command cards up here, so we'll have a couple of the command cards up there discarded, you can choose to return them to your hand, all of them now, or you can gain 2 honor, which will move you up the point track every time you get honor, for each command card that's there. And they would remain there. You wouldn't have them available for fall. So fall's an interesting time. That's going to be where you're going to play your command cards, and you're going to go through the command cards in order. And once all those are completed, you are going to go into the winter phase. But let's go over what that means for your command cards. All right, so everyone has the same 6 command cards in the game. At this point, each player is going to pick a command card and place it face down. Once everyone has picked a command card and placed it face down, it's now going to be placed on the track here. And there's an order. So this is going to be the first card to play, second card to play, third card to play, fourth card to play. And if it's a 5th player game with the expansion, 5th card to play. You're going to use this T track here to determine who's going to place their cards out first. So in this case, the blue player would place out their card first, and then the yellow, the green, and the red. Now, they don't have to place them in the first place. They can place them where they want them to activate. And there's a lot of different strategies that you can have on when you want your things to occur and what you think your opponent is attempting to do. All right, so this is the bulk of the game here is going to be these command cards. And once the order is set here based on where the players wanted to place these cards, and they'll do them again in T-track order here, then they're going to get resolved from the left to the right. Now each card here has 3 different abilities here. So you're going to resolve them from top to bottom. And actually I'm going to skip the betrayal card because the betrayal card is a special card. If the betrayal card's ever used, when it goes to the discard pile over here, it can never be picked up again. So just realize that the betrayal card is a one-time use command card. In this case, we're just going to use work harder. So you have resolved them from top to bottom, and there's 3 different things that occur. So the top one is for the player who has played the command card. This one will let me move all of my clerks to any location. Now for all the other players, this is going to allow me to move up to 2 of my clerks to any 2 locations. And then finally, for each attack order, and there's 2 attack orders on the track here, you may perform an advance action in any of the locations. So remember I said the advanced location, you're actually going to trigger the location, and then you're going to not have to worry about gaining shame. So you will complete all 3 of these things, maybe sometimes the bottom, depending on if the card is there to make it work. And once each of the command cards have been completely resolved in order, the round, or not the round, fall will end. But let's go into what some of these can do and the locations on the board. But in general, the fall phase is all about placing these command cards out and then resolving them. All right, 2 things that I didn't mention about the command cards that can trigger each time you resolve a command card, and this is every time. So at the end of resolving the command card, the 2 things that you're going to check is to see if a horde card has been taken out, which we'll go over that in a minute, or if a location can activate, which we're going to go over in a minute also. But just be aware that you need to check to see if either of those things occur every time a command card is completely resolved before you move on to the next one or you finish to the winter phase. So you'll need to check each time a command card is completely resolved for either of those things, whether you can activate a location or a horde card's been taken out, before you go to the next command card or you go to the winter phase, because all command cards have been resolved. Now let's take a look at some of these spaces and some of these command cards. So like I said, you do get 6 command cards at the beginning of the game. So everyone's gonna have the same command cards. They'll have different art on them, which is really cool, but they'll all be the same. So like I have despotism, you can move up to 4 of your clerks to any location. For each economy card on the command track, you can move 2 additional clerks. So you're trying to make sure that economy card's there. Here, other players get to move 2 of the clerks to any 2 locations. And here, you may perform an advance action in any 1 location. So that's a pretty cool card, and the check's on the top there. Now, this one here, they can move up to 2 of the clerks to any 2 locations. That has to be a clerk per location. So here, economy, you may upgrade 1 of your resources for free. Move up to 3 of your clerks to any 1 location. Now, every single one of these command cards has to deal with moving clerks because you want to fire off abilities or fire off locations. Now, for each work harder card on the command track, you can place an additional clerk, sorry. And other players get to place 2 clerks to any 2 locations. All right, this is going to be raise banners. Move up to 3 of your clerks to any location. For each despot on the command track, you can move an additional clerk. So you're going to be trying to guess what people are going to be doing. Other players get to move 2 clerks to any 2 location, and here, during activation step, each of your clerks is in the barricade counts as 2 clerks. Ignore the shame penalty for the barracks. So that's pretty cool because that will make it fire more often for you, and you get to put more troops out, which I'll show you in a little bit. Here, attack order, you can recruit 1 spearman for free, which is really good. For each raised banner on the command track, which is a different card here, recruit 1 more spearman. Attack with all the soldiers in the chosen wall section. So it's pretty cool. All right, other players attack with 2 soldiers in a chosen wall section and recruit a spearman for free. Attack with all soldiers in all remaining wall sections, which is pretty cool. All right, work harder. Work harder is the one we had earlier out. It's move each of your clerks to any location, so that's all your clerks. Other players get to move 2 clerks to 2 locations, and if for each attack order on the command track, you may perform an advanced action in any location, which is cool. Betrayal here is a one-time card in the game. Once you play this, you won't ever be able to get Betrayal back. I don't know why. I guess focus is a problem today. But anyway, for Betrayal, you're going to copy all effects to any other command card on the command track except Betrayal. Move up to 2 of your clerks to any location, and this card cannot be reclaimed. So you will never be able to get Betrayal back. And those are the 6 different command cards that you have in the game. So when you're placing these workers out on the board, clerks out on the board, there's different locations and they do different things. So let's go over those locations now, because that is going to be where you're going to get all your resources, where you're going to be able to defend your wall, where you're going to build the wall, where you're going to get more advisors, where you're going to be able to change the T-track, and we're going to be able to do all the really cool things in the game. The easiest locations on the board here are going to be the ones where you get the resources in the game. Now they have these little spaces here, like I said at the beginning of the tutorial here, and these spaces have to be filled for the area to activate, except for if they do an advanced activation. So what you're going to do is, when, let's say I got to place all of my clerks out, and let's say I placed 2 here, placed 2 here, and I placed 1 here. The opponents got to place out their clerks too, and they placed a clerk here, and the blue player's like, I'll put 1 here, I'll put 1 here, and the green player's like, I will put 1 here and here. So that's how the clerks were placed out. Now, let's say the command card completely resolved, and now we're going to check to see if we activate any spaces. All right, so for production, there are 3 things you can do if an area triggers. So in this example, this area would trigger because it was full, this area would trigger because it's full, and this area would not trigger. Now, as an example, let's say this area was full of all green workers, this would also trigger too, and we'll go over what that is in what happens there in a second. So when this area triggers, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to get resolve this in T order. So in this case, blue would get their 1 wood first, then yellow would get 1 wood, and then red would get 2 wood. All right, so they got their resources. What are the other 2 things you could do? Well, one of them is you could donate 1 of your resources to the wall from here, and if you do, you're going to get 2 honor. So you'll move up the track right now 2 honor. The other thing you can do is you could pay 2 chi to put 1 of your soldiers on this track here for your income. When you do, you're going to gain the resource, so I'll gain 1 wood when I do that. The other thing is, if I already had 1 on there, I could promote it, so I can move it up. So I could pay 3 chi to move it up. And now I'd gained the 2 wood, but every income phase I would gain 2 wood, which is really cool. And then I could move it to the final spot for 4 wood. You could only ever have one of your soldiers on each of these tracks, but all other players can have their soldiers on it too. So that would resolve that production space. This one here is going to be similar. You do it in T order here. So blue would get a stone here, yellow would get a stone, and red would get 2 stone, and then they can put any of their people on the track, or they can donate a resource. You can see by these arrows here the locations that let you donate a resource. This production spot right here wouldn't fire, but if it did, you would gain gold. And this production spot will fire, but you can't donate a good in that one. And this one gives you chi. So this player here would get 4 chi, could put one of their soldiers on this track here, but because they're the only one there, the only color there, they will get a dishonor token. And when they get a dishonor token, again, they have to choose whether they're going to place it on a horde card if they have it, that they have won, or they're going to lock down a soldier. So they'll put it under a soldier, and then they can't deploy that soldier anymore. And if they can't do either of those, they're going to lose 5 honor. So that's these production locations, and that's how they work. Now, there's some other locations on the board here, and most of them have these green spaces here. This one has 2 red, and this one down here, way down the corner, has a green space too. So there's 2 red ones, and the rest are green any number. So that means whenever you put a person there, at the end of the command card, once it's resolved, that place will automatically fire, and if you're the only color there, you're going to get a dishonor token. But other players could place their stuff down there, and each of them do different things. So let's go over this space first. So this space here lets you build units. So you can spend 2 coal and 1 wood to gain a spearman. You can spend 2 chi and 1 wood for an archer. And you can spend 3 gold and 1 wood for a horse. So here, and then here's your archer, and then here's your spearman. When you get these, you could deploy them onto different horde cards. And when you apply them on here, you're trying to cover up all the spaces. This one's here really nice because it takes up 2. And you're going to get every reward. Whenever you see these dragons here, that means honor. So if I cover over this, I will gain 8 chi and 2 honor. I could cover it like this, gain my chi and 2 honor, or I could put it on these spaces, but I can't go diagonally. So I could place the units that I got out and cover these places and get the rewards. Now, let's say I did that, and I paid the resources, and you can get as many soldiers as you have clerks over there. So in order to do those 3 units, I'd have to have 3 clerks. Now keep in mind there is abilities that are things that let you double up some of your clerks to be able to use them even more on some of these spaces, but this in general is going to be that. Okay, so that's the barracks, and that's going to place those. You get those rewards immediately. Now, I did mess up here. I put an archer on there. You can't put your archer on there. You put your archer on the wall. And what happens when you put your archer on the wall, there's only 1 spot available right now until you build up more, and you could have up to 5 if you build the wall all the way, is you're going to put a wound token on one of these. So as soon as I place my archer, I'm going to put a wound token on one of these. When I place a wound token on there, I do not get the reward. However, archers are a nice sort of recurring income of honor. So every time one of these cards gets wiped out, you're still going to get honor for the archers that you have on the wall. They also, in general, aren't affected with the horde cards as normal soldiers are on them. So there is an exception for that, and we'll go over that in a minute. But archers are valuable for that. They're going to be a continual source of honor. They're going to help you take out these cards. These wound counters don't count towards who gains the card, so that's one thing to keep in mind. But we'll go over that in a little bit. This tea time spot here is pretty easy. whenever you place people here. So if I place 2 green, I could move my green marker up twice. If there's 2 colors on there, they still get resolved first in T order, and then you would adjust them there. So this is your chance to change the T order if you go into that location, which is nice. Here, you're simply, for everyone that you got there, you're going to draw one of these cards. And again, these cards are really powerful, and they can be played at specific times to help you along in the game. And a lot of the generals actually come with getting these cards. So that's that location here. The next location is going to be this location way down in the corner here. And this location down here is going to allow you to get another clerk. So if I go here, which is technically right here, I can do one of 2 things. I can gain another clerk, which is pretty cool, for 2 gold. Or I can gain an advisor. And the advisors here, I'm going to pick which one I want. And the advisor is going to cost equal to the number of advisors I have plus this. So at the start of the game, I have 2 advisors. One's a support advisor, and one's an advisor that I use for its ongoing ability. So this guy's going to cost me 3 gold. And I could pick this one to keep its ability, or I could flip it and use it for the support. But whatever I pick is going to be permanent. And that's how this spot works. And any of these green spots are going to fire off no matter what at the end of the command card resolution. So there's a couple more spaces that we can go to in here. This one here, we can build the wall here. And there's a good cost for each of these. So if you want to build barricades, by the way, in the fall, these barricades all get wiped out. They're going to cost you 2 goods. And when you build a barricade to help strengthen up, and I'm going to show you why you want to do that in the future, but they're going to gain you 2 honor each. In order to build that building, I'm going to have to be able to play the goods. So in this case, if I look at this, it's going to be 5 goods. So I'm going to have to pay 5 goods, and then I could build this building. So when I build this building, a couple different things happen. Any of the archers will go up on here automatically. And I will gain honor equal to the goods. So at the very end, you finished all the command cards. You did all the resolutions of all the areas. That was all the worker placement places. The next thing you're going to do is check to see if any of the horde cards were completed like that one, and then resolve them. Otherwise, you're going to go to the winter phase, and when the winter phase happens, you're first going to go through the firing phase. We're going to go over what resolving a horde card means in a second, but what that's going to happen here in the winter phase is every single archer from left to right is going to fire. When they fire, they can only be in their own lane, and they place a wound counter on the horde card. So if a horde card is covered completely like this one, then the horde card would now be resolved at this point. So it'd be a defeated horde card. Just like in the other fall step, the winter step, this part would be the same. So once I take a look, I'm going to see that the shield bearer has been defeated. There were more red characters on it than green. So red's going to get this card, and wound counters don't count. So they're going to get this card at the end, and this card can be worth up to 7 honor at the end of the game if, again, they don't have any of the shame tokens on it. Now, on the turn track, remember I showed you that threat or lethality track part where it says the 1, the 2, and the 2 on the bottom. You're going to check your lethality. In the first round, lethality is only 1. So each player has to lose 1 unit. And they can choose to save the unit. If they save the unit, they pay 2 chi. If they don't save the unit, then it gets returned to the pool. So let's say green and red both paid 2 chi. So be saved, and the horseman would go in here. So these guys here are ready to be deployed again, and they don't need to be bought or anything. They can just be deployed, which is a good portion of why you would want to go to the barracks, just to deploy those units. So one of the things in the barrack location is per one of these, you can deploy one of your soldiers, and that can be from this reserve area here instead of having to purchase them, which is really nice. So another thing to mention here is all the soldiers that participated in the battle will get 2 honor. This includes the archers and any of these units, even if they were killed. So in this case, red would get 6 honor and green would get 2 honor. And that is how you resolve your defeated hordes. Now you're going to check in this winter phase if any of the hordes can attack. So is there any left hordes? They're going to look at their strength versus your strength. So here is going to be a 7, and each of these barricades here is a 2 each, so that's 6. So this is higher. Same with this location, but if this horde was here, let's change this around a little bit. 7 is going to be less than here because this is 8, 10, 12, 14. It'd be fine. Now, if both of these were there, you would add both of those numbers up. So it'd be 7 and 6. So 13, you would check against this. It's still good. So what happens when an assault is going to be effective and go through? So again, you just need to be equal to prevent it. Or they have to be equal to or greater than you have to be to beat these hordes. If they're greater than you, they're going to be able to complete their assault and move through. So what's going to happen at that point is you're going to have a breach. And when you have a breach, each player gains 1 shame for each horde card in the wall section that they don't have any soldiers in that wall section. So in this case, if this is how it was set up here, then yellow and blue would both gain 2 shame tokens. All right, and then you're going to kill soldiers on each horde card in this wall section, and you're going to do the lethality. So each one is going to lose 1 in this case, but as time goes by, that number gets higher. You're going to leave wound tokens on the cards for any of the soldiers that are killed. So if a soldier is removed from a horde card because it was killed because of this breach, you will put a wound token on there to represent that part was already dealt with on the card. The bad thing about this is all archers are going to die. So archers on the firing spots of the wall are all killed, which is going to be the worst case scenario. So if you're placing a lot of archers on there, you're going to want to make sure there's never going to be a breach. After this, and after that's resolved, you're going to check to see if the game ends. So if all 3 walls are built all to the 3rd level, the game will end. If the shame token pulls empty or the time token has entered the last portion of the track, so in this case is the 5, then the game will end and the person with the most points at the end of the game will win. So how do you do the final scoring of the game? Well, the final scoring of the game is going to be where you're going to lose 5 honor for every soldier that has a shame token underneath it. You will also not be able to gain any of the points for the horde cards that have any shame tokens on them. So they can't have any shame tokens on them. If they don't, you're going to gain those and add them to your score. And finally, you're going to look at the artifact cards and calculate your honor on the artifact cards. So these artifact cards are going to be end game scoring. So in this case, you're going to gain 7 honor for each of your scrolls above 2. So each of your support advisors above 2. So you're going to try to build them up to gain more points. And whoever has the most points at the end of the game is going to win. If there's a tie for any reason in score, whoever's highest on the T-track will win. So that in a quick nutshell is how you play the Great Wall.